The 12s are having some very lively discussions lately regarding the quarterback position. A vigorous debate has broken out over the possibility of signing Geno Smith to a contract extension. Some believe that Geno is Kurt Warner, reborn, when he went to the Arizona Cardinals at the end of his career and had a sparkling finish. Others say that it goes against the sacred plan to pay a quarterback big money, and they're not even all that sure that he's well worth it. Well, no one can deny that Smith is at the very least having a top 10 quarterback season. Outside of wins, which I really do hate to solely attribute to just the quarterback position, there are 6 major statistical categories that you would use to gauge a quarterback's performance. So let's go take a look at Geno Smith this season and see how he's done in those select 6. Measured against the other quarterbacks in the NFL, Geno Smith is 1st in completion percentage, 5th in passing yards, 4th in average per attempt, 4th in passing touchdowns, 5th in QBR, and 2nd in passer rating. Kind of looks like a top 5 quarterback to me. And that's not even factoring in the 240 yards rushing he has so far this year. So let's just say the season fits to type, and Geno continues to perform right around the same mark he's performed at all year long. Top 5 quarterbacks don't just grow on trees, and it's Tom Cruise risky business to believe you're going to find your next one in the draft, even when you've got a high pick. Very few trade possibilities tend to exist on the open market, and when they do, they tend to cost the sun, moon, and stars to get a deal done. No guarantees, few sure things, and a wasteland of first-round busts. The phrase I keep coming back to is a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. If you look at the planning stages of this rebuild, Geno is giving you everything you could want from the position and more. In recreating the 2012 blueprint, a new Russell Wilson isn't required, nor a star quarterback that can lift the team up on his back and carry it all on his own. Schneider and Carroll have set the stage by first building a solid team so that the next proverbial quarterback can come in here and flourish, even if they maybe are missing a few of the more elite traits you're looking for in the position. The plan called for a top-end game manager, ideally. Well, saying Geno Smith has been a game manager is like saying Shakira just dances. What a voice. The stats above are not of that of someone who is merely hanging on for dear life or just trying to survive. Geno Smith is giving you star level of play. From here, the debate should shift towards 4 questions to determine the viability of Geno as the long-term answer for the Seahawks at the quarterback position. Here are those questions. First, is Geno Smith's performance sustainable? 2, will Geno cost too much? 3, what are the realistic alternative options? And 4, what about the blueprint for a young quarterback on a rookie deal playing behind a super team? By my measure, if I can answer these questions reasonably, I can make the case in full that Geno should be re-signed. First up, is Geno Smith's performance sustainable? This question seems mostly posed by those ardent Geno disbelievers. They just can't wrap their head around him being this good, no matter how many times he goes out and puts on a show. It's as though they think he went to the crossroads this offseason and made a deal with the devil for one magical year. And then after this season, he turns back into a pumpkin just like Cinderella's carriage. Well, I don't really buy it. It seems a mode of thinking based on superstition rather than housed in well-reasoned logic. There isn't a single part of this offense that Geno isn't executing, including showing full control at the line of scrimmage, recognizing the blitz, and adjusting protections. There's not a single throw in the book that he can't make. He brings plus mobility and has shown ideal leadership traits. There just isn't some kryptonite-like hole in his game that defensive coordinators throughout the league are going to magically solve this offseason. And if folks are so adamant that that's the case, then you got to get specific about where that green glowing vulnerability lies. Let me give you a specific example of what I'm talking about. In 2020, Russell Wilson had the best start of his career, but it was mainly Bomb City that was the cause of the explosion. Some might have wondered at that time, what would happen if teams started to take away that part of Wilson's game? And when teams did, those fears could have been confirmed, as he still to this day doesn't have a counter to that simplistic defensive adjustment. I see no similar fear point in Geno's game. He's executing the offense within its designs. From his arm to his legs, he's shown no limitations. At 32 years old, age is also irrelevant to the contract discussions. He's right in the middle of his prime for normal top-end quarterback play. He's also not your typical quarterback that's played 10 years in this league, sustained a hellacious beating, and now moves like Evel Knievel after all of his stunts. There's just not as many miles on these Geno tires. Leverage determines everything in contract negotiations. People talk about hometown discounts or other teams being interested in your player, but the end-all, be-all factor is leverage and who owns it in any given situation. The Seahawks have leverage over Geno Smith. The franchise tag would cost $31.5 million next year, which might seem pricey at first, but that's actually a bargain-based discount for top 5 level quarterback play. Leverage wins, always will. Geno Smith has never gotten close to the contract extension he'll be in line for this offseason. I believe at least in part that will be an impetus to help get this deal done. And with the franchise tag applied, Seattle will only be negotiating against itself. A $35 million or more a year deal is completely unrealistic. Why should Seattle go that high when they don't have to? Here's where I see the numbers landing. 3 years, $85 million, $50 million guaranteed. $28.3 million per year. Geno gets nearly double in hand what the franchise tag would have given him, and a chance to get back out onto the open market at 35 years old. Perhaps the Hawks could even sweeten the deal by offering not to franchise him after the deal completes or give him a no-trade clause. While a substantial investment, this contract's average per year cost still comes in at about approximately half that of the deals signed by Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, and in the case of Dak Prescott and Matt Stafford, it's about 40%. This year, Geno is outperforming all of those guys, with the exception of Mahomes and Allen. Yeah, he's worth it. Next up, what are the realistic alternative options at quarterback? This question has swayed me towards Geno as much as anything else. And I'm going to get stone cold real deal with you right now. This draft class, it's becoming less impressive by the week. This year was going to factor so heavily into your assessment of these kids, and it's just been overall underwhelming. CJ Stroud is young and can't play off script. Will Levis is a wild man who's hard to trust with the number of mistakes he makes. Bryce Young is built like a light-hitting second baseman, and I'm not sold on his arm. KJ Jefferson runs a simplified offense, and I don't think he'd be a fit in Waldron's scheme. Anthony Richardson is dangerously talented, but he's going to take years to reach his potential. Hendon Hooker's older and now has a torn ACL. DJ Uiagalelei has gotten benched and is now entering the transfer portal. Tyler Van Dyke has fallen off the planet. Phil Jerkovic the same. I could go on, but you get the point. The draft class doesn't suck, but it's generational like Velveeta's really cheese. And whom do I see that is Russell Wilson like and that you might be able to get them later in the draft and they can hit the ground running? I'm not talking about an impact player. Be able and proficient, smart in your decision making, with mobility and a willingness to run. I see none that hit that mark this year in this class, at least not yet. There are no good quarterbacks in free agency, unless you believe Coach Carroll can talk Tom Brady into coming to the Pacific Northwest, which I don't. There are other alternative options, but it's a far drop-off from Geno Smith's performance, at least for next year and probably into the foreseeable future. The more talented quarterbacks in this class, like CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson, are probably going to take a couple of years to show you what they've got. What about the 2012 blueprint that calls for the Hawks to get a young quarterback on a rookie deal surrounded by elite talent? Yes, the Seahawks in the early teens drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round and paid him around 1% of the salary cap through his first 2 years. This aided in freeing up a cash flow to go after free agents. The Seahawks maximized these quarterback savings to the tune of back-to-back Super Bowl appearances, and perhaps from 2012 to 2015 gave us our 3 best teams in Seahawks history. So why not go that same exact route once again? This question is probably the strongest counter-argument to re-signing Geno Smith that exists. First, if the Seahawks were to take a quarterback high in the draft, that is a different position than 3rd round Russell. And if we're talking a top 5 pick, that player is going to make $6 to $7 million a year, which projects to be about 3% of the cap cost. There is a chance one of Stroud, Levis, or Young do come in and instantly excel, but that seems less a rule of thumb in today's NFL. And for those wanting the purified Russell Wilson 3rd round pick approach, if the chances are already slim of hitting on a top pick quarterback, then landing one around the middle rounds is even trickier than tiptoeing through a minefield. Outside of Hendon Hooker and his torn ACL, there just isn't really a guy in that 3rd round range this year who's ready to go. Also consider the particulars of a potential Geno deal. If it would average around $28.2 million a year, the Seahawks would still be able to, with that $50 million of guaranteed money, be able to structure the contract any way they saw fit, including lowering down that first-year cap hit substantially. Just to be realistic, let's say it was around $19 million. That would be around 8.2% of the salary cap, well within reason. And though it would grow into its 2nd year to $26 million, the cap is also growing substantially with it if we are to believe the projections. So though it would go up to $26 million in that 2nd year, that would really only be a 2% increase in the cost against the cap, up at 10%. Let's bottom line all those numbers. Is Geno Smith and his 8% cap hit next year better than 5% more in cap space and a huge risk for drop-off in performance at the position? Or, if the Hawks wanted to wait until the 3rd round, 7% more in cap space, and the potentially disastrous scenario of a great team, Super Bowl ready, held back by a young quarterback who's just not good enough. I guess Drew Lock as an insurance policy should also be factored in as a hedge for any pick. He is a free agent, though, and some team may look at him as Geno Smith 2.0 waiting to happen and toss him a little bit of money. A Geno pheasant in hand is worth more than the Stroud Levis ducks in the bush. A 5% cap increase cost for the position is well worth the assurances that Geno brings. It's also a far cry from the reportedly $60 million that Russell Wilson was going to ask for if he had still remained with the team. Weigh the options. Consider the leverage. Realize the many teams that have spent decades looking for their next great quarterback. You put it all together and it seems so clear. Geno Smith is the way. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all that, don't you ever forget. Go Hawks!